Call me crazy, but ever since Dr. Monty was introduced in Black Ops 3, I've felt kind of off. Storyline-wise, though wrapping up seemingly ideally to continue the cycle and right the wrongs of the storyline's past, or if you weren't a fan, regardless, what we got in Revelations was what we got. But something just hasn't sat right with me in a storyline with Monty. It was too easy. Following his path was too easy and too straightforward for something such as the zombies lore that loves to make us question our own very existence. So for a while, I thought about the idea of what if we had everything wrong? Even so far back as the Black Ops 3 initial teaser trailer in which the voices say everything you know is a lie, while that's more than likely not tied to the zombies mode, that statement is more or less the basis of this idea. So what if we did have it all upside down? I remember a long while back having seen a post by the Reddit user ArielZao150 that took a lot of what I already had in my mind, but kind of then stemmed some different turns off of this as well, and made it a little bit more of a coherent thought. So this, as well as that post for reference, is where this idea kind of stems from. But before we dive into it, remember that this is just a theory for food for thought, and if it's completely wrong, well, I'd be totally okay with that. I just wanted to bring up something different. But from Black Ops 2 to Black Ops 3, we have some different teases about Dr. Monty, possibly as far back as Buried, assuming that you want to count the red cloth scarf that is in the starting room in Buried, but in Origins, we for sure have one confirmed by Jason Blundell, that being the red scarf by the dig site, and in Black Ops 3, we got another scarf in Zetsubo, but we had earlier dates that we had teases from the very beginning as well. Dr. Monty's factory and the Tesseract schematic, or otherwise known as the KN-44 blueprint, signed with Dr. Monty's initials, were the first official pieces that we had for Dr. Monty's likeliness in Black Ops 3. But then we were formally introduced by quotes in Grodd Krovey, and initially, at that point, he was still a little off-putting, and though we have a little bit to level him off now, many people actually were quite skeptical back then as to he may not be who he appeared to be. But if you remember, he did come off a little bit differently. He continuously had these quotes that seemingly would pit Primus against each other, mentioning plans that Richtofen had to go behind their backs, that the others weren't worthy enough, and all such things. And that was the first indication to me that something was off balance. Why would our supposed good guy omnipotent being be trying to tear apart the only ones who could do what they're tasked to do? Not to mention that part about being omnipotent, that's another huge thing. Monty seemingly is obsessed with showing off his air quote power and that he can do anything, but then he openly admits that he can't. He says that he can't just magic things out of thin air. I have to manipulate things that are already existing in your reality, like the perk drinks. As well, he goes on to say, I may be omnipotent, but I can't be everywhere, which is a direct contradiction because that's exactly what omnipotence is. Additionally, he brags on about creating free will and that he isn't meant to be active in the universe, but he's actively been there since Origins, and that's a fact that we can hear between radios of him and Maxis in Revelations. So for a guy that is supposedly an all-powerful deity who has absolutely everything he's ever needed and can completely make things how he needs them to be, he sure is worried about making it known that he has this power, which he also says he doesn't, and he sure craves the attention for all that from Primus. Not quite something that a god, if you will, would concern themselves with. As for the other side of the coin, the Shadow Man, of course, well, there's some things that you can definitely use to argue no matter what, but there's some compelling stuff, I believe, that may make this what-if scenario a little bit valid at least. At the very introduction of him, before and during Shadows, we hear all these quotes about, you bear the mark, you are cursed, and you have blood on your hands, it cannot be cleansed. Your sins have allowed others to tear their way into the world. He also mentions that they are coming and they have already corrupted this world, which leads us to initially believe that we're following the right side. The Shadow Man is on the right side of things, but the thing that more so leads us down the path of maybe we have this wrong in this theory is that the Shadow Man is genuinely concerned with the moral well-being of the players in Shadows. Monty was not so concerned with the souls of Primus, but the Shadow Man was concerned about their sins and why they committed them, almost pushing us along to the point of cleansing us. He consistently asks, why did you kill? I can only help you if you confess. Only through acceptance can the mark be removed. Your sins serve only as an invitation beyond your imagination. I will lead the way, I will show you the path. Only through me, the Shadow Man, will you find your redemption. Now, a redeemer in a classic narrative is usually more so the one that comes out as the good guy, and further questioning, why does he even care? what motive would the Shadow Man have to actually and genuinely care about whether our players are good at the core? If he's actually our evil enemy, then theoretically he shouldn't care in the slightest, right? But one other thing that has always off-put me is the names that the Shadow Man tells you that Monty is known as in Revelations. He says, you do realize that he's manipulating you. That's what he does. Dr. Monty is just one of the many names he's been known by. The Great Dragon, the Beast, is this ringing any bells? Beelzebub, Lucifer, Satan, the Devil? Now perhaps it is reverse psychology, but doesn't it seem like at this juncture that the Shadow Man is way more direct than Monty? And either he has a tremendous poker face or there truly is no reason that he'd have to go out of his way to try and convince us of this. And he's a hell of a lot more powerful seemingly as well. Monty can only rearrange things in reality, while the Shadow Man completely created or summoned the Apothicon Sun in Revelation's intro. And to me, to bring an entire dimension to another place, I think that's a little bit more powerful than dropping a power-up or a perk bottle. Now, one final piece that I also want to mention as well that kind of takes a step back from taking a look at the characters individually and taking a look at the story overall, we have the Runes of Creation. And that's something that is, interestingly enough, Apothicon in nature, not Keeper. The runes are Apothicon. So, as the narrative would currently suggest, Monty and the Keepers are the good guys and the original creators, but the Runes of Creation are Apothicon. So perhaps the Apothicons and the Shadow Man are actually those of that of the creators, and the Keepers and Monty aren't necessarily who they appear to be. Just a tidbit that may be used for some food for thought. But all this is easy to dismiss perhaps, and especially if the Shadow Man has been against us this entire time. But to that, perhaps we can say that the Shadow Man is in a different perspective because we initially sided with him at the beginning of Shadows, but then we ended up siding with the enemy of the Shadow Man, and therefore, by extension, we could be his enemy now as well. But perhaps it does shift, who all knows? There were ties with Richtofen and the Shadow Man before, but what I see is that Monty is a little bit too arrogant and hungry for power to be the true air-quote hero of the two deities, while the Shadow Man seems more upfront, not manipulative, and more concerned with the whole well-being of the characters. And not to mention the whole power thing that transporting a whole dimension showcased. I don't know. It's just a theory that I've thought here and wanted to bring to you guys because I've been sitting on this for quite some time and I didn't really know exactly how to present it, but seemingly now I think it's a good time to take a look at with everything well and done, and looking forward to the next Treyarch title. We might have a leg to stand on here at this one. So that said, drop your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this? Do you think it's completely crazy and way out there and tinfoil hat conspiracy theory level worthy? Or do you think it's something that could be possible? Maybe we do have this all wrong from the beginning. And of course, that said, drop your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. There is no right or wrong answer, so feel free to drop whatever you have down there in the comments. But if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel as well, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything we have here regarding Zombies Chronicles, zombies in general, Black Ops 3 multiplayer, Modern Warfare Remastered, Call of Duty World War II, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. I practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to check out a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said, now that we hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Thank you dudes so much for watching. My name is Nicole Espresso. Take care and peace.